Hello, welcome to another edition of NextGen IT. I'm your host, DJ Singley with MAPSYS. And today, we have another webinar for you. It's a webinar that I did just last week covering IBM Cloud. That's right, folks, IBM Cloud. It's huge, it's big, it's cloudy, it's a bad dad joke. I'm so sorry. Listen, IBM Cloud is a spectacular piece of technology. We will most likely have to spend several episodes of NextGen IT covering all of the capabilities of IBM Cloud. In this particular episode of NextGen IT, we'll cover the business reasons of IBM Cloud as well as some of the technology reasons of IBM Cloud, following all up with a demo on power systems and how to provision power systems on IBM Cloud. So please take a look, tell me what you think, and as always, we'll see you in the next episode. Stay safe, folks. Bye-bye. Thanks for that introduction. That was great. So my name is DJ Singley. I'm the Executive Director of Technology and System Sales at MAPSYS. MAPSYS is a nationwide IT consulting firm with 4 business units. The business unit that I know and love the best, of course, hardware sales and hardware, including cloud. That's what I head up. We sell IBM mostly, but a lot of Lenovo and other things as well. And then there is software, think VMware, Veeam, and Microsoft, that type of thing. We also do a full staffing business, and then lastly, a programming services business where we can do COBOL, RPG, .NET, mobile, you name it, with about 45 developers, all here in the United States. So MAPSYS is an ESOP or employee-owned company, so we are really motivated to help you and solve your business and IT problems. So I'm going to stop right here and point out on this slide how to connect with me on LinkedIn. So I post a ton of good content out there, folks. I would really love to, make your connection and see if our paths cross in the future. It's really easy to find me. You just use my full first name in the web browser and it takes you right to my LinkedIn profile. So why don't you all take a moment and do that right now so we can connect. Great. And while you're there, you'll notice a little bit about me. Yes, I was an IBMer for 9 years. I was in the design group at IBM doing power design. Back in the day for Apple and Nintendo, and a couple of patents and published papers out of that. And then I was actually selling what I designed in the field for IBM for 3 or 4 years. And then finally over to MAPSYS, where I've been kind of steadily moving up the chain a little bit here and there over the years and until I'm here talking to you folks now today. And that just means I'm a giant geek, just like everyone out there. I love technology. I love this technology. And today, we're here to talk about my favorite cloud, IBM Cloud. Open, secure, and enterprise grade. And we're going to learn how IBM Cloud provides more business value and lower total cost than those other guys, right? And with a host of different platforms. I'll touch on Power Systems, x86, VMware, and of course, serverless, everyone's favorite cloud service, right? So the first thing I want to talk to you about, though, before I really get into my next slide and a lot of the meat of the presentation here, is the cloud marketplace today. If I were to ask you all on the webinar today, what are the 5 largest clouds in the world? What would you say? Well, I'm sure all of you would say AWS. Most of you would say Azure after that. Probably some of you might say Google and IBM and maybe even Alibaba. And those are about the 5 big clouds. But I bet you didn't know that the top 3 clouds were Azure, AWS, and IBM Cloud. That's right, IBM Cloud. IBM Cloud is more than double Google Cloud size. And that doesn't come up very often, and I just scratch my head why. It's just a peculiarity to me. So if you look at the revenue per quarter, IBM's results put it squarely in place 3, more than double the 4th place's market share. So pretty interesting. I mention that because typically when we do projects with any customer, they always look at the top 3 guys, whatever it is, right? Top 3 backup vendors, top 3 storage vendors, top 3 cloud vendors, right? And IBM is certainly in the top 3, and for good reason, of which you will find out today. So thank you for joining me. I'm excited to share my passion and love of IBM technologies and IBM Cloud, and in general, just talk to you about technology today. We will take a look at some of the business reasons folks are moving to the cloud. We'll take a look at some of the uniqueness of the IBM Cloud on all these different platforms today. I will share with you some of the vast array of products that are available in the IBM Cloud. And then I'm going to do something real cool. I hope it's real cool. Hope it works. Is give you a demo of IBM Cloud. And the demo today, we're going to go over the Power Systems virtual server element of IBM Cloud and provision a server. That's probably all I'll have time for today. I would like to show you all eventually in other webinars, probably down the road, how to provision and use and back up VMware environments, how to back up Power environments, how to do things with Linux and Red Hat and Kubernetes and containers. There's a lot more I would like to show you. It's just wow, that would take a week. so maybe during the next couple of cloud webinars we'll really get into demos of those. So again, thanks for joining us. Let's get going. All right, Chapter 1, the market adoption of public cloud. Now, a lot of you folks out there may say, oh man, a marketing slide. I don't really like these marketing slides. Let me just get this out real quick here first, just so you can really understand a little bit about where we are, right? There are two, in my opinion, and I think in IBM and most analysts' opinion, two categories of companies out there looking at cloud. There are those companies that are being born today, which will never have an on-premise data center footprint. In fact, every single one of you on the phone, every single one of you, if you were to create a company from scratch today, 100% bet you would always choose a cloud vendor to birth your company into. You probably would not have an on-prem data center, probably, unless you're maybe a hospital or something like that, or a defense company. So that's one type of company, and then of course the other type of company is the legacy company. The companies that have been around forever that have these crusty old data centers. I shouldn't say crusty old data centers, but you get the point. I'm being coy and funny about it, but they have legacy equipment, or they have non-cloud aware applications, which are the vast majority of applications that are sitting in data centers on premise. And they're certainly not obsolete. I don't mean to say that. It's just, let's put it this way. To somebody coming out of college right now, yeah, it seems kind of obsolete. You actually have a piece of hardware sitting in a room somewhere with an air conditioner in it? Oh, really? Yeah, we do. It's how the world is actually run. So, of course, I talk about the cloud providers here in this slide here, leaving off Alibaba, of course. It's just not a big one in this geography. And then, what are we learning from these cloud services, right? We're learning how the clouds can drive innovation with these new cloud and web-aware applications and web-scale applications. They're very business disruptive, at least in some categories. There seems to be a clear cost advantage on the public cloud. And I say seems to be because you can make the case for public or private cloud, on-premise machines, left and right, and do TCA studies, and sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, and I'll be happy to show you what I mean later in a very big deep dive and show you actual numbers. But suffice it to say, a lot of folks have the idea right now that cloud is cheaper, and in a lot of ways it is. And then the big one, at least right now, that only quote-unquote 20% of workloads are moved to cloud. Well, where's the other 80%? Well, it's still sitting in your data center. It's still being, used and hammered on by folks sitting in your offices right next to that data center. So what's going to happen to that workload? Well, some of it may migrate to the cloud. Some of it may stay in your current data center. And only time will tell. But the clear trend is to the cloud. So what's preventing the rapid monetization of that 80%? Well, there's a lot of things, right? I sort of alluded, though, some of it may move to the cloud eventually, and it will, but what are some of the problems about getting to the cloud, right? And probably the biggest one is those workloads are probably very unique to your business. Maybe they run on unusual platforms. I shouldn't say unusual. Everyone on here knows that IBM I and AS400 and AIX Unix operating systems are not unusual. But the folks coming out of the school right now may wonder what the heck we're talking about when we talk about mainline Unix or AS400. That's just not part of their vernacular at this point. So those are unique workloads for sure. Those workloads running on AIX and IBM I are are the absolute trusted, most important workloads in most businesses, right? They cannot go down. They need 100% uptime. They need the highest security. They need the highest compliance, and they need to be up all the time, right? So that's what I mean with unique workloads. But it doesn't just apply to, interesting IBM technologies. There could also be very unique, very important workloads running on VMware and Linux and Red Hat, SUSE, that type of thing, Windows, and other areas of your business. The other problem we see is that there are so many clouds and vendors out there offering many different ways of getting to the cloud. So it's hard to connect and understand which cloud to go to and understand all the technologies you can use in that cloud. It's hard to manage your IT environment across all these clouds and your private premise, your on-premise workload rather. So, with that, I submit to you that I will show you, or at least talk about later on today, that there are many different ways that IBM Cloud can help you solve this issue. I submit to you folks on this webinar that IBM Cloud is absolutely the most open cloud out there. They do not try to lock you in to certain technologies and keep you there like other clouds do. There's an asterisk on that one, of course, but there are certain things that, like services architectures, that sort of do lock you in a little bit more than others. However, for the most part, IBM's clear go-to-market strategy is to not lock you in, is to provide you choice, is to even help you migrate and use compute capacity and storage capacity at those other clouds. Yes, that's true, at AWS, at Azure, at Google Cloud, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then very, very, very lastly is the lack of necessary skills. And, we're all in this industry together, guys and gals, right? This industry moves at 10 miles a minute. It's unbelievable. This is a lifetime of learning just to be in the IT industry, to have a career in IT. When we all started this journey in IT 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, however old you are, or even 5, the landscape was vastly, vastly different. You might have growing up in this industry and with mainframes or those AS400 boxes, those green screens I was talking about, and now the web and the PC and you were still doing the mainframe, and now this cloud thing, and it's just changing constantly. There's a constant need to continue education. And, that's a good thing. That keeps our jobs and our lives actually pretty exciting, I think, right? We're always learning new things, and we're seeing and following the technology and the trends and trying to find that lowest cost, highest performance structure for all of the businesses that we work for. So to that end, we all have to spend more time doing this education. And some of that education is here, right? So how can IBM Cloud knock down the level of education you will need going forward to use a cloud vendor? And we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. Let's move on. All right, eye chart time. I'm going to go through every single one of these little dots here and tell you what I think about them. No, I promise I won't. This is just a quick down and dirty comparison of I think this is a Gartner report or another consulting firm report came out that sort of compared real briefly some of these major categories on cloud vendors. And you can see IBM comes out tops on a lot of them, but not all of them. And let's talk about just a couple of them right here. So I was talking to you about security leadership. I think I'll probably just leave it at this. The encryption that's available and isolation that's available of IBM Cloud is tops compared to the other clouds. I'll put an asterisk here. I think if you go through the custom quoting process at those other vendors, they can get right there to IBM Cloud. But the point is that you can go right into the IBM Cloud catalog and order any of these products and get superior security leadership out of them without having to go through any custom quoting process, which I think is important. Next, the enterprise grade part. IBM Cloud is by far and away the leader in bare metal, period. As a quick, back of napkin reference for you, when COVID happened, right? COVID hit the world and things were shutting down. I had a very large request from a major U.S. university and their engineering departments saying, we need 2,000 GPU-equipped servers to handle our engineering load right now. How do we do it? DJ, how do I get this done? And, I said, all right, well, I guess I'll go take a look at some of the cloud vendors, right? IBM was the only one to come back and be able to support that request. They had the hardware available, and they could do it all in bare metal form as well for maximum performance for their workloads here. A lot of these being engineering CAD/CAM apps with pretty constant, throughout the day at least, utilization by engineering students. So they didn't like the price, perhaps, because it was enormous. But that's just an example that it can be done, and it could have been done and put up with that number of hardware, that amount of hardware in less than 12 hours. So when you order bare metal machines, you can do whatever you want with them, and it's all available through the GUI. I'll show you a little bit, at least, where that section is later. The virtual server instances, VSI, later. Thoughts are IBM Cloud maybe isn't as complete as Amazon and Azure. I'm going to say it's absolutely more complete because of IBM's VMware part of the cloud. Yes, the other clouds can host VMware through custom coding processes, but IBM exposes VMware right from the get-go as an actual part of the service. And I'll tell you, if you ask me, if you're going to move any workload, especially VMware workloads, to the cloud, this is the only cloud you should consider. It goes right up there. It runs on VMware. It's easy to administer. It goes through the VMware networking layer, so it's very, very cheap networking-wise to use it, and it uses Veeam as the backup on all your VMware virtual machines, the best-in-class backup method that's baked into it. None of this crappy, excuse my English, snapshotting methods that other cloud vendors may try to sell you as a backup. Snapshotting is not a backup. Snapshotting is snapshotting. It's a good enough-ish form. You're not going to see a single file and get that back through a snapshotting method, but you are through Veeam professional backup software, which is pretty great. So I wanted to throw that out there because that's a very large business benefit of IBM Cloud. Again, for those folks out there running VMware workloads, IBM Cloud is the only place to run it, if you ask me. Because if you're gonna put those workloads up to cloud and have to take them off VMware, you're gonna have some growing pains. Admittedly, it's not that hard, but you are going to have growing pains. Regulated workloads. This is where we talk about the financial services workloads, SAP workloads, stuff like that. I think HIPAA and stuff like that. No cloud vendor is perfect. I think IBM comes quite a bit farther than the other cloud vendors. Let's see, platform as a service. They think IBM Cloud falls down a little bit there, but SLAs generally both Azure and IBM are tops there. Compared to the other vendors. Not that they're bad, they're not, but they've had some very notable downtimes recently, and that's just been not great, right? And then cloud bandwidth costs, I talked to you a little bit about it. It's the egress fees that we're talking about, moving from region to region or getting it out of the cloud. As you all know, getting data into the cloud is free. Getting it back out is not free. That's where all clouds say, hey, listen, you got to pay me a little bit of a charge. IBM's charges are a little less, which is pretty great. And then innovation. The innovation part is where IBM absolutely runs away with the crown here. Because you're able to let me talk to you folks real briefly about a brand new IBM technology. I don't have a slide on it per se, but this technology is unbelievable. Love it. This IBM technology just blows me away. It's called IBM Cloud Satellite, and it allows you as a cloud provider or a cloud provisioner, I should say, and consumer to put up workload not only in the IBM Cloud using the IBM Satellite GUI, but put workload up in Amazon or Azure and then move it easily between clouds. What? Yeah, that's right. IBM Cloud actively helps you put workload in Azure. IBM Cloud actively helps you put workload in Amazon, if that is where it should go. All right. So the point that they're trying to make is that, listen, this cloud stuff is hard. You got to learn all three different clouds. You got to know and you got to remember them and blah, 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 blah. Why not just use the IBM Cloud Satellite? There's one GUI, one easy way to manage all this stuff, one easy way to connect them, all these services together, network them together, and go from there. We could talk more about IBM Cloud Satellite later if you're interested, but it's a huge business benefit for those larger organizations that are really have their big toe and maybe their entire foot in the multi-cloud world, and it will certainly help out, I think, too. The same goes for hybrid and, like I said, multi-cloud. So again, IBM scores quite well in a lot of these areas. Now, to pile onto that, here is a a survey, right, from Gartner which shows that IBM Cloud has one of the highest customer ratings. And I can't stress this enough. And let me give you my anecdotal evidence as to why, right? We've all used probably those other clouds too, and you call them up and you eventually get to talk to somebody and they really try to help you, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I have always had tip-top amazing service from IBM Cloud, and let me really explain why. IBM is the top company in the world that provides maintenance and warranty and service level, after-sales services to manufacturers and vendors, not just their own products, but other people's products. There's a lot of notable wins out there. Very large companies use them. I'm not sure if I'm actually at liberty to say which ones, but I know you know a lot of them and you interact with them every day. So IBM has that experience. So when I call IBM Cloud, it's 1888 or I forget the number, whatever it is. Just look up the IBM Cloud number. You type in a couple of things on your keypad to get to the right area, whether it's compute or storage or whatever you're looking for, and you talk to a real person right away. And not just some call handler that says, hey, I'm going to direct your call to the first available level 2 engineer. No, it's an IBM Cloud engineer sitting in an IBM data center. Hey, man, or hey, gentleman or lady, how can you help me with this or that? And yes, absolutely, they can jump right in there. And if they don't know, they immediately transfer you to someone that does. And they also help you with the ticketing process by opening the tickets for you, assigning it to you, and asking you to stay on top of the tickets and the severity levels. And it's just a pleasure to work with these folks. And it's just easy to get a hold of them. I've never had a problem getting hold of any folks at IBM Cloud when I needed help, even for Sev 3, Sev 4 issues, which are nothing, right? They shouldn't even pick up the phone for those issues, but they do. And it's great. And and for that reason, they have a very high service level, as it's shown here by everyone's favorite group, Gartner. So, all right, let's move on. I can't have an IBM Cloud presentation legally binding by IBM without talking about Red Hat. So sorry about that, guys. So IBM bought Red Hat for all the open source stuff that comes with it, especially the cloud stuff that comes with Red Hat, the OpenShift container platform. Let me take a bit of explanation here so you folks understand completely what this is if you don't understand what it is. So most development, I shouldn't say most development, a lot of development these days happens on containers. Think Docker containers, although there are many other different technologies as well. Docker is one very popular technology that you can run on your desktop. This makes developing applications very easy. It makes it, all the parts of the application can be contained in a container, a piece of software, a software construct that contains and isolates all the pieces of the software that you're developing and allows you to easily deploy it. Where it's really interesting and very good and great use is in web scale applications. Web scale applications, of course, are many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of containers that do some function, and that have to be upgraded and retired and deployed and not deployed and taken down, and static data has to be saved out to storage and all this stuff. The point is that there's a lot of orchestration that needs to happen with containerized workloads, and that's where Red Hat and Kubernetes and IBM's and Red Hat's OpenShift container platform comes in. So if you're looking, or if your organization is currently developing containers and you're using Kubernetes, I strongly think that you should look at Red Hat OpenShift container platform as a management layer. It is the industry's best and nicest container platform out there. So based on Kubernetes, of course. It's not the only one, but it's based on Kubernetes. It's beautiful, and it works great with IBM Cloud. IBM's Cloud Vision, I think a lot of people are like, well, how do I do this multi-cloud really easy the way the IBM's saying? Well, I could show you a lot of really interesting ways to take traditional workload up and down from IBM Cloud and other cloud, but the easiest way to get workloads all over the place is with OpenShift, period. That's, I'll tell you, it makes it silly easy. And it works with not only IBM Cloud, but other clouds as well. So there's my there's my advertisement for. All right, folks, this is my summary slide. It's to help me prompt me to
A lot of
remind
folks
you and to tell
love
you
Red
about a
Hat
couple of
and
interesting things
OpenShift,
here, right?
and,
So
there's a lot of reasons why.
there are two. Here's the two
All right, let's
classes:
move on.
move to the cloud and the built for the cloud, and what we're talking about.
All right, so,
each and some very big business
This
benefits
is
for
absolutely an
IBM
eye chart,
Cloud compared to
so
other clouds.
I
and why you absolutely
apologize
should look
for
at
it.
The first one is
And,
bare metal. If you need bare metal, this is it. This is the place to go. Before IBM even bought SoftLayer, my brain completely blanked on that one. SoftLayer was the company that IBM bought, the cloud company that was really a leader in a lot of these things, and bare metal was one of them. It was widely known as the industry leader for bare metal, and because IBM bought them, they are still known as the absolute industry leader for bare metal servers. So if you need bare metal servers for whatever reason it is to run any workload, IBM is the number one de facto reason, and that includes GPU workloads and whatnot. It's pretty great. And why might you want bare metal? Well, you can run your own VMware cluster if you want on there with access to the vCenter server, SAP workloads. SoftLayer was originally very strong in the HPC and gaming industries, and those are still very, very prevalent in IBM Cloud today. And of course, the whole dedicated hosting thing. The second thing, which I've already mentioned a couple times, but it really needs to be repeated, is IBM is the number one VMware cloud on the planet. I think even if you ask VMware, they'll tell you the same thing. Over 1,800 clients. That's an old number, by the way. That is absolutely tiny right now, ridiculously tiny. It is the place to go for VMware workloads. I told you why, right? You can easily move your VMware from on-prem to IBM Cloud and not have to change hypervisors to go to those other guys or even IBM, right? Those other guys like to use Xen or Hyper-V, or IBM likes to use KVM as their hypervisor in their VSI environments. But if you go right to the VMware Cloud here, it's great. And you use the VMware networking services. You can VMware hyperconverged storage. It's great. And you get Veeam as a backup. And I'll tell you, the price is exactly the same as you're going to pay at those other guys. In fact, it's probably less. And I'll get to that in just a second. So VMware, big deal. The other thing is those very, very important, interesting workloads that run on IBM's Power. You heard me say it earlier. I was a Power designer. I love Power. Power is unbelievable architecture, and it still is to this day. And my friends and colleagues that are continuing to power the Power servers, right, continue to innovate on Power and design Power 10, Power 11 that are coming out very soon. Not 11, but Power 10 coming out later this year. Those servers are top-tier server for a reason. And you could run those servers on IBM Cloud, and it does a great job. I'll give you a demo in just a minute on that. Lots of good reasons to keep your IBM Power workloads in the cloud. Supports all of the OSs on IBM Power. IBM I, which is AS400, Linux, think Red Hat or SUSE, or I guess Ubuntu even too. And then, of course, everyone's favorite, the last man standing, Unix OS, AIX. And I know a couple of you out there are like, hey, listen, Solaris is still here. Yeah, okay, fine, sure. Lost its relevancy perhaps, but AIX is still king and still tops, man. Let me tell you, great OS. And lastly, the built for the cloud folks, and I didn't really get to spend a lot of time on this, but the next slide will help me with this a bit. And that is, the HyperProtect services and the Kubernetes everywhere. Those are what those cloud folks really, really want to do. And the serverless architectures like serverless databases and serverless cloud hosting of applications, and all that's there with IBM Cloud. But I will make a little asterisk, is that it's built on open technologies, folks. That's the difference between those other guys. So let me give you a quick instance, right? IBM's Cloud database is built on MongoDB. Everyone knows MongoDB. MongoDB is a thing. You can install MongoDB on your laptop and use it today. How great is that, right? It's a great NoSQL database, and it's very popular. And Cloudin is one of the best implementations of a serverless version of MongoDB. If you were deciding to build on MongoDB and you wanted to move out of IBM Cloud, you can put your database anywhere in any other cloud or local, anywhere you want in the world. So an absolute example of how to get there and from there if you don't like it. The corollary to that is something like Google Firestore database. Yes, I know Firestore is popular and it's a very good database, but the only place you can run Google Firestore is at Google, and that's it. That's it, folks. Not on your laptop. Yes, I know there's a dev environment on your laptop, but no production on your laptop. You can't do it in any other clouds. If you like that database, you're paying whatever price they want for it, period, or you're migrating off of it. So there's a non-trivial example of serverless and how it's better and more open at IBM Cloud. Now, before I get to the next slide, I want to remind you all that a little bit about pricing. And I'll show you later on too as we go through the demo. When you buy IBM Cloud, you all could go and buy IBM Cloud from cloud.ibm.com and be happy. But you're going to pay more. And the reason I say that is that you should be working with a business partner. You should be working with DJ Singley. You should be working with MAPSYS to buy your IBM Cloud credits to purchase whatever services you're going to buy at IBM. And the biggest reason why is you're going to get a discount. Not only are you going to have me architect it and help you with it, not only me, but our IBM colleagues and also our other MAPSYS resources that are here to help you. But you're going to get a better price on it by buying it from me. And that's sort of the hidden secret, the secret sauce maybe? I don't know. But it's what you should be doing for sure. If you compare the IBM Cloud, any of these services I'm talking to you about today, let's say VMware to those other guys over at AWS, you're going to find that the AWS virtual server instances and VMware server instances IBM Cloud are just about the same price. Just about. IBM Cloud absolutely has higher performance, or I should say higher service level, right? Because it includes backup with Veeam. It's truly VMware instead of moving off of VMware. So that is good. But if you buy it from me, it's going to be cheaper than those other guys by a good bit. So, I mean, yeah, that's sort of a shameless plug, but it's true. And if for some reason you're already working with a business partner, and I'd love to get a shot at your business, but if it doesn't work that way, that's totally fine. Buy it from your current vendor just to save a couple of bits of cash. Plus, you're going to get a lot more, you're going to get a lot more consultation on the sale of what you're buying, and basically for free, which is great. So love IBM Cloud. One more slide here for you before we get on with it. All right, second to last slide, I promise, and it is, and I get it. It violates every single piece of advice that anyone has ever gotten on creating a slideshow.
Don't hate me for it, okay?
And I did it, and I'm doing it to you.
I wanted to throw this up there as a
I put this slide up here to really show you. Wow, look at all the different services IBM Cloud provides.
The products available for IBM Cloud. Not only is it
virtualized servers,
Power Server,
Power, VMware,
Power Server workloads,
Linux, Red Hat,
VMware,
all these
AI,
serverless services,
serverless,
absolutely the best place to land
just
any blockchain product, because
I
IBM
really put it up here to
remind
you
that if you're
AI
considering
is huge
an
in
IBM
open
Cloud, in
source,
fact,
or
I
if you're
think
considering
I saw recently
cloud
one of the
project,
consulting firms,
a lot of people
IBM's
think
tops in
serverless
AI
architectures first,
only because of all these
Serverless
different
architectures
technologies that you just
AWS,
can't get
serverless
everywhere else, like
architectures at
Watson.
Azure.
I know a
Serverless
lot of you just said, "Hey
architectures
DJ, that's not
IBM
open."
Cloud.
Okay,
It's
you
pretty
got
great.
me. That's the one of the
Things
asterisks. Watson is not
such as
open.
the
If you
Watson
want
stuff
Watson,
that,
you're
is
buying it
available
from
on
IBM Cloud, and
yes,
it's only an
I know
IBM Cloud. It's
probably
not
a bunch
running
of
on
you
your own
just smacked
server.
your head. I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
I know.
So
You're right. That is not
my bad.
all that
But
open.
for the most part,
on
of
IBM
what I've
Cloud,
talked
that
to
is
you
an
about today,
IBM only
IBM Cloud
technology,
is
and the
pretty
only place you
open
can run it is
compared.
IBM Cloud. So yeah, I get it. I've been making
the
a
whole
big deal about
DevOps
open
environments
IBM
are
Cloud. As I know a
available
lot of you
on
probably like,
IBM Cloud. The whole
hey, I caught you,
rational
DJ. I
product
caught
suite
you.
is there.
Yes, you did. You caught me.
I
But
probably
that
won't
is
spend any time talking
maybe
about
one
that.
of the
Internet of Things
outliers
is a big
here.
deal there with
But Watson is
a lot
pretty
of
great. I
AT&T
just saw recently how
partnerships,
IBM AI
a lot of
cloud
integrations.
services
A lot of you use
some of the
IBM
best you
middleware
can
and
get in the
integration
industry,
stacks,
partly
like
because of
Cloud
how
Pak
good
integration.
Watson is, and
all that
and
lives
what
on
Watson
IBM
does.
Cloud.
The
A ton of
analytics that
networking
IBM
stuff,
famous
which I'll
for,
probably
Cognos
eventually
and-
do a
and
webinar about how to network within
all that
IBM Cloud
stuff,
and doing
including
different
Weather
things
Channel.
with-
Yes, Weather
with,
Channel stuff you can do on IBM Cloud.
you
It's
know,
all there.
the
The
security
virtual private
stuff
networks
is great.
and
Dev
other
tools,
things like that.
the rational
the
tool
storage
chain,
at IBM
everything
Cloud
we
is
love
again,
about that.
I
It's all
believe
there.
best in
Or maybe
class,
if you don't love
especially
it,
with IBM Cloud Object
Internet
Storage,
of Things,
which,
of course,
if you
lives on
haven't
IBM
seen
Cloud partnerships
S3
through
compatible
AT&T,
IBM Cloud Object Storage,
all
and
the
why it's more
serverless
resilient
through
and
web
high-performing than
app,
those other guys, you
and
really owe
NoSQL
it to yourself
databases
to
and SQL-based
call me
databases,
or
whatever
to look
it may
into
be.
it.
Of course, Power
And
System
make your own
servers, the
judgment.
number one place to land VMware.
Maybe it's a tiny bit
just
more
a beautiful
expensive, but not by
thing.
much.
All the things you
Or
can do
maybe
with
it's not
networking,
even. So,
pretty strong at
especially if
IBM
you buy
Cloud.
from
I
me,
should
I'll make
probably
sure
do
it's
an
not, okay?
entire webinar just talking about networking and all the
Let's see,
ways
anything
that you
here,
can do interesting networking and
lots of
virtual
different ways of
private
doing it
networks
at IBM
and
Cloud.
Cloud.
I mean, look at all.
And then
those things
storage.
that we have on
storage.
this
If you've not seen
chart.
IBM
It's an
Cloud Object
absolute
Storage,
eye
you
chart,
owe it
and
to
I
yourself to
apologize.
consider this S3 based.
But the point
way
I'm
of
trying to get
storing,
across is that
objects
anything
in
you're
the
trying to
cloud,
do in
right?
those other
It is
clouds,
more robust. It's
when a lot of
more
people
robust,
think I'm going
more
to go cloud,
secure,
they think of two clouds,
and
right?
higher
Azure
performing
and
than those other
AWS.
guys.
You should be thinking.
Let me
three
show it
clouds,
to you,
Azure
or do your
AWS
own
and
research.
IBM.
Just take a look,
Because
see
anything
what
you
you
can
think.
do in those clouds,
And then, of course,
especially
all the
serverless,
compute
you
stuff
can
that
do
we've
in
already
IBM
talked
Cloud,
about
and you
in
can
the
do it
last
more
slide,
open,
just as
but,
cheaply or
you know,
cheaper.
This eye chart
on IBM Cloud
just
than you
goes
can
to
on
show
those
you
other guys.
all the
Let me
various
show you
ways to do.
let me
IBM
prove it to you.
Cloud.
And
So give me a
I've
chance
got to put in a plug
to
now
show you,
for
if you're looking for
you know,
that.
for
How do you
and if it's not
consume
me,
IBM
then let
Cloud?
an
Well,
IBMer show you. Because
this
is important for you to know, right?
And I would hate for you to
when you go to IBM
lose
Cloud,
out
you can just go to
on an experience
cloud.ibm.com
that could be,
and just
business
purchase
and
whatever
life-changing
you're
in that
looking to
sense.
purchase. You'll see
And
the price
now-
right there. But that's the wrong way about
Now,
IBM Cloud. I
demo
promise you
time,
that.
baby.
The
And
right
I'm gonna
way
demo
is to
an
come to
IBM
DJ,
Power Systems
is to
virtual
come to
server
MAPSYS
and how to
is
provision it,
is
and
to
just
come to
show
my
you,
colleagues,
how great
and
it
I'll
is.
steer you to
So,
myself or
if
colleagues.
you follow
of mine
me
at
over to my
MAPSYS
other
or colleagues
screen
at
here, let's see if I
IBM
can do
to
it.
help you fully size your project in IBM Cloud, and much more importantly, give you a discount off that list price. That's the most amazing, important thing. So not only do you get basically free advice from MAPSYS on how to size and get you where you need to go, but you get a nice discount off of what you're seeing as a list price on IBM Cloud. And that's the only way to get a discount, is to go through a business partner. And I submit to you, of course, MAPSYS is one of the best. But if you already have a business partner, have them help you with IBM Cloud. If they're just not doing the right job for you, give me a call. I'm very friendly. I promise I won't bite. You have my LinkedIn contact information now. I'll help you with your journey on IBM Cloud, blockchain, AI, whatever it happens to be. Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be pretty great. So now that we've said that, and that's it, folks. IBM thanks you. MAPSYS thanks you. And now it's demo time. That's right. Today we'll demo the provisioning of IBM Power Systems virtual servers, probably with AIX on IBM Cloud. And yes, I know we will probably have to do some other webinars to show you how to back up AIX and IBM I workloads on IBM Cloud, and how to even migrate them up there in the first place. Also, probably should spend a lot of time with the VMware portion of IBM Cloud. It's pretty impressive. It really is neat. I love it. So that's probably on the docket too in the future. So stay with us in all of our demos as you see them coming out. So with that, I'm going to show you a little bit about IBM Cloud before we really get into the demo once we get over there. So bear with me. Let's see if I can do this, and let's see if I can get you all over there with me. So let's try that right now.